afternoon. Hello again. I'm very glad to welcome you now for an extremely important moment. It's the Variety Vanguard Award and Keynote conversation. Together with our friends at Variety, we're extremely proud to honor a great leader in the global entertainment business. This year's very deserving recipient is Ari Emanuel, CEO of Endeavor. Ari was key in building Endeavor from its start as a small talent agency in 1995 to its very current impressive form. With the addition of WME and IMG, Endeavor is now a major entertainment, sports, and fashion powerhouse, reinventing the business in this fast-changing industry. Before we welcome Ari on stage, I'm very pleased to introduce Variety's Managing Editor, Television, Cynthia Littleton, who, following the award, will lead Ari in a keynote conversation. A warm welcome for Cynthia.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening for a conversation that should be very enlightening about the future of the entertainment industry from somebody who is literally at the center of it right now. Ari, who has achieved one-name status in the entertainment industry, he has led the team that has built Endeavor into one of the industry's most innovative and ambitious companies. No talent agency has attempted the kind of transformation that Endeavor has embarked on in modern memory. So for all of those reasons, Variety and Mipcom are very pleased to present Ari Emanuel with this year's Vanguard Award. Thank you again for
This is on, yeah, okay.
We're both on. Thank you again for making the trek from Los Angeles to Mipcom.
Thanks for having me.
As we've talked about, Endeavor has had a great rags to riches story over the past 25 years, and it's really accelerated in the past 5 or 6 years. One of your biggest initiatives is Endeavor Content, a company involved in sales, financing, distribution, marrying artists with the people that can help them realize their vision and get that all-important green light. We're going to talk about the growth of the company and all of its components, but we're going to start with, of course, a sizzle reel for Endeavor Content.
As I take a deep breath, right? I want to ask you, when you said rags to riches, I was thinking, when we first started in '95, even though it probably was rags, because we were on top of a hamburger stand, it didn't feel like rags to us. It just felt like the right place to be. So I wouldn't say rags to riches. I would just say less than now. Okay. So
you famously 4 ICM agents left that agency with a little bit of drama, heading off into to launch your own shingle.
Right.
What was it at that time that made you want to go out on your own? You have achieved such stature now, but back then you were a TV agent. You were into.
Back then, there's 2 books that have kind of influenced how we have directed the company. The first book was by this guy by the name of George Gilder. It said Life After Television, the World of 10,000 Networks. And really what it meant was that distribution was going to become a commodity. And at the time, there was Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, and way back then there was going to be UPN and WB. And from our perspective, there was going to be a lot more packages, and television created writers were going to be more valuable. And I had a very good writer list, so did a bunch of the other guys that we started with. And we thought if we started, we could really put a lot more television on there because it was 2 more networks, get some packages, make a lot of money. And we looked at the landscape in the agency business and said we felt that there was an old guard there and it was about to be disrupted. That was the premise. We very quickly got 3 big shows on the air. And then we got lucky. Mike Ovitz left, and the people at William Morris left, and then we just took advantage of the situation.
I mean,
which leads us to now. And you now have, I'm talking US, but we can go around the globe, the same thing is true. You have the FANGs with Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, Disney, Comcast, AT&T, and not that Viacom is not going to be on, or Sony, but those are the big ones with endgame direct-to-consumer SVODs. And for us, they're walled gardens. They're all kind of playing in the same field. They're going to need some outside players. When you think about the television market in the United States, it's a $150 billion business. You know, there's a subscription business and there's a commercial business. That business we don't believe is going away over the next 5 years at least. And then you have anywhere from $20 to $30 billion of more money coming into the environment from the SVODs. So that's a $180 billion business. And they are all self-contained, walled gardens. And we created the second book that we read that helped us create kind of the thesis of the company was a book called The Content Trap from a professor at Harvard.
Just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. Nobody can have him as a consultant because he's a consultant for the firm, so that's off limits to anybody in the audience. But that talks about content and its complement and how you have to think about the business. And we've built a business now that complements the most important thing for us is our clients. And for us, our clients are the writer, director, actor, authors, musicians, and advertisers, because they're also with an infinite distribution model. And SVODs, how do they get their products out there? And then also for our sports clients and for our own business that we own sports, how do you get products out there? And we've created 6 different complements to service the most important thing for us as our clients, because we think they're the most important thing in the equation of the entertainment business. And so about 3 weeks ago, we announced Endeavor Audio. We have an SVOD sports service in Scandinavia called Strive, in the UK, and we bought New Lion, the over-the-top channel, and you'll see something in education for us and some other things. But for here, we're talking about Endeavor Content, and the reason we have that is, and as you can see from the video, we believe there has to be an alternative for the clients to get the best, one creative solution and financial solution. If the best solution is to go make a deal with Netflix, great. If the best solution, like with Killing Eve, is us and BBC coming to create better economics for everybody, great.
Where Endeavor Content is handling international
sales
for that
correct,
program.
And some financing to make the whole package work properly. And even though BBC has a distribution business, Endeavor Sales has done an amazing job, and they will say, you know, they did a better job than anybody could have ever expected. And that's just kind of where we're positioning ourselves as the largest independent. And you know, we're in 20 countries, we have 200 offices. I don't think you can survive without that scale.
You have built, so Endeavor Content was built, you acquired IMG, a company in 2014, and that company for years had been selling sports rights around the world.
Correct.
And we've talked about you retrofitted that team to handle a broader range of content. Let me ask you though, to your point about the walled gardens and the FANGs and the specter of the FANGs, and we've seen traditional media, Disney, AT&T, they're responding, you know, in a big, potentially game-changing way in launching their own streaming global platforms. My question for you in building Endeavor Content is, are you concerned that the Killing Eves and the night managers are going to be fewer and far between in a world where we have these enormous global-minded conglomerates running all kinds of different verticals, but all within that walled garden? Is there going to be room for you and your clients to have shows and be able to retain the kind of rights that make it worthwhile for you?
Well, Our contention is the $150 billion is not going away overnight on the USA Networks, ABCs, NBCs. There's huge infrastructure there. Those things are not going away. They might go down by a little bit, but they're not going away. So there's huge need there from the client's perspective. And on the SVOD services, except for Netflix that wants rights, global rights, there's room to play with all of them. So no, I'm not. And on the IMG side, the beginning part of that question, one of the things that we saw when we bought IMG is they had this global sales group. We thought we could add a traditional business that was going to add huge value to our clients, giving them a better understanding of what their assets were worth. And so for 18 months, Graham Taylor and Chris Rice, working with Joris, the head of media, worked through teaching the IMG team and the WME team how to sell traditional business. We added a movie component to it. That took a lot of hard work, and they have been unbelievably successful.
Would you say when you bought IMG, the purchase price was reported at about $2.4 billion? There was a lot of commentary in Variety and elsewhere that was a very high price for that company. Would you say that the returns you've gotten already have justified that price?
Well, the funny thing is, if you look at that price compared to current acquisitions, us included with UFC, Liberty with Formula One, the value of WWE, that was the cheapest acquisition in the sports arena. That was at 11.5 times. The rest of them have been at 20 times. So I would say, I'm really arrogant, so I got to be careful here. We're geniuses. No, I think it was a great price. There's no question it was a great price. The things we've done, we've added to it, have been exactly what we thought. And it's permitted us to realize the value creation that we did on the UFC. Once we put it inside the platform, the international sales team in sports created huge value for a bunch of the assets. The Endeavor Global Marketing created huge value on the marketing side. So it's been exactly how we wanted to build the business and create the platform we have, and it's paid off on other acquisitions.
You have said very clearly that the agency, the WME agency that is now, Endeavor is the holding company for a lot of disparate businesses, UFC, a lot of content.
Rags, disparate, oh my God, this is not going well. I didn't know we were that bad.
Disparate isn't a bad word, it just means many.
Oh. I didn't get that one on my SATs. Okay, keep on going.
You're going to hear from your high school English teacher. So Endeavor is the holding company. WME is obviously the core. That as we just heard from Tim Davey, that access to talent, that pipeline could not be more prized right now. And WME by any measure has incredibly high wattage clients. And they say you can't put a television show together. It's very hard to do that without, all roads kind of go through WME in that area. You have been very clear that the agency is a central part of that company. Of course, when we talk about a company expanding into content ownership, production, distribution, that has raised, decades-old tradition of talent agencies not being in the business of production because it can set up a conflict of interest with clients.
Well, in 1957, that might have been true. First of all, in 1957, that might have been true whenever 16C. Here's the bottom line is, the world's changed significantly. There's a lot of people, one of the worst things that could happen is a client firing us because we didn't act in a fiduciary way. There's lawyers, there's accountants, there's managers. If it's not right, they shouldn't, I don't want them to do it. What I do want them to do is have alternatives. I've never really, and not that they're bad people, studios look out for studios. In this situation, I'm creating an opportunity for the clients to get ownership in a way that they've never been able to get, different from what they get in the studio system. Sometimes it's a better deal to go to Netflix. They go to Netflix. The group of overall deals that Netflix made is 0.1% of the business. The rest of the people have to have opportunities, and they're not going to fit into every box. We're just creating a new box for them to do. And there is a walled garden. We've established it. Lawyers, everybody looked at it. It's made sure that it's negotiated in a way that's, separate. So it's not, I don't think it's appropriate to kind of think of us back in the day of when Lou Wasserman. Everything we're doing is to create a complement for all of our clients so that they have many opportunities. And so that's the way we're operating the business. And if they don't want to do it, they don't have to. First, we have no clients in it. Those are CA.
The Hulu drama with Sean Penn.
Those are CA clients. They did it with us. Same thing with Killing Eve. We did it with the BBC. We didn't have any, now we have a client, but we didn't have any clients in that situation. So it's creating opportunities for the client. And when they hear about it, they realize it is an opportunity for them. They do not have to take it.
Has anybody given you any pushback if you would have suggested potential partnerships or opportunities?
No. And if they don't want to do it, they don't have to. It's actually pretty simple. And there's a lot of layers now, as you know, in the business that permit it to be an arm's length negotiation.
One thing, too, that I think is kind of misunderstood in the industry is that you do a range of things from sort of old-fashioned lining up financing, advising clients through Endeavor Content, advising clients on where their best opportunity goes, all the way to being a partner on some level in the production.
Yes.
Is that range of services sort of very much mimics what a talent agency would provide, that kind of counsel? Is that has...
No, I mean, there's other services that we do with regard to. Here's one of the things that, unlike some of our competitors on the agency side, as I said to you, we have 20 offices, we're in 20 countries, 200 offices. The good thing about the agency business and on both the sports side and on the talent side, we get a forward look at what is going on a global basis that we bring back to clients at all levels, whether it be a marketing client, whether it be a writer, director, author, musician. Same thing on sports. That's the great thing about it. Now the world is saying, there has to be other opportunities for them, and we have to see the world around the corners. That's the other thing that we have the ability to do. But there's also walled gardens that are not out for the best interests of the clients. And so we're making sure that we get ahead of it so that we are out for the best interests. The client ultimately gets to make the decision. Everybody's very savvy about the business right now. So that's what we created.
Have you found there is a sense that there's very much there's a Netflix template, there's an Amazon template, but have you found with the right project that they want really bad that there's maneuverability within these new paradigms that are emerging?
Here's what I would say to you. If you have a great project, you have leverage and multiple buyers. And once you have leverage with multiple buyers, it's game on. And that's what we're trying to create for our clients. So that's what we do.
Can you talk about your projections? I mean, Endeavor Content is formally about a year old. Do you have a sense of how the...
We don't talk numbers. I won't do it here. It's going great.
You're private.
Chris and Graham have done an unbelievable job. They've kind of surpassed all expectations. It's going great. I'm not going to give you numbers. No, I won't do that for you. Sorry.
It's okay, I had to try. But you have, the company itself, obviously, the kind of growth that you've had, you've made some big acquisitions, $4 billion for UFC, about 2.4 for IMG. You've picked up a lot of smaller things along the way. A lot of that has been fueled by new capital coming into the company. Is there a danger of getting overextended while you're in building mode?
I don't think so. I mean, financially, we've got some really great partners. I think they're really, really happy. There's more acquisitions we want to make. It's interesting with Disney, Comcast, and AT&T having to absorb, it will take 18 months to 2 years to absorb those acquisitions. We see a pretty robust roadmap if we wanted to make some more acquisitions and things that are interesting to us. If it can work for our platform and we think we can absorb it and make the acquisitions, we're going to do it. We're looking at stuff right now.
Any hints?
No. Again, I wouldn't do that.
Content creation, content distribution?
It's in all the specific areas, whether it be content, sports, marketing. So they're in all the areas that we're currently in. And there'll be some internal announcements over the next couple weeks of just stuff that we are based on the marketplace. We define content in a lot of different ways. It's not just movie or television or play or song. It's a podcast is now content, an experience is content, education's content. So in all those areas, you'll see some stuff that we'll be announcing.
We'll stay tuned. One of your recent investors has been in the headlines the last couple of days. Appears to be a very serious situation going on in Saudi Arabia. And Endeavor in the last year, has had a sizable investment from the Saudi Sovereign Investment Fund. And right now there is I think there is distress in the world about the disappearance of journalists.
Well, here's what I'll say about it.
Jamal.
I personally am really concerned about it. We're concerned about it. What I can say is that we're monitoring the situation, and that's legally all I can say right now. It's very, very concerning, really concerning.
Just to finish the thought, Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist who lives in the United States, went into the Saudi embassy in Turkey and has not been seen since. There's real concern that there may have been some state-sponsored activity here. Is that on its face enough for you to reconsider that investment?
All I can say to you that I'm permitted to say right now is, listen, I'm concerned, we're concerned. On the face of it, it's upsetting. And we are monitoring the situation right now. That's all I am able and will say right now.
I understand. And in full disclosure, the parent company, Variety, also is in a similar situation. So thank you for that. What would you say in terms of all the pockets of the business that you've gotten into? What for you, having started out as a TV literary agency, what has been the biggest learning curve for you in terms of either the businesses or how to lead the group of people? Your company has grown in just the last couple of years from a couple of hundred employees to now nearly 7,000.
Well, that's not an easy jump. I don't think it's an easy jump at the top, and it's not an easy jump for people just starting out. I think one of the most important things we work on almost every day is the culture of the company and how people, to make sure people feel like they're rowing in the same direction. And one of the things you have to do, I think, constantly, and I say this to people, companies, I don't think die because of one big cut. They die because of 1,000 little cuts. Again, the good thing that we have is we have a lot of forward-looking businesses that we're in that enables us to see where the world's going, that enables us to move around. We have great investors in Silver Lake and other people that have given us and believed in us to go make acquisitions. The most recent one being New Lion, and where the B2B direct-to-consumer business. We launched the direct-to-consumer business in Scandinavia. They permitted the content in the sales group. So we are now kind of, as we've launched things, reevaluating, as I define it, our architecture. As I said to our groups, we've been doing the same meetings for 23 years. We now have to, as we've launched several businesses, there will be 6 by the end, that are all internal that we've launched, we have to change our architecture. And we are in the midst of rearranging how we do the traditional business, but also clients are demanding other things in other areas. As I said to you, podcasts are a new form of content. Education is a new form of content. Experience is another. So we are redirecting the architecture of the company to continue in the traditional, but also capture the new. And that will enable us, hopefully, if we do it right, not to get cut by 1,000 cuts and lose the opportunity as they are presenting themselves.
Endeavor, from its earliest days was known, it had a culture, very hard driving, very entrepreneurial, very ambitious,
really?
But very team oriented. Oh. How do you ensure that same ethos is permeating an organization that is growing that fast?
How long have
do
you known
as a
me?
leader?
Well, listen, I have great people in the executive committee who are as driven as I am, and as nuts as I am. And we all drive each other. We all trust each other. It's a constant monitoring. I'm a very hard driving guy. And the other thing that I think is good about the leadership of the company is we're still curious about the business, what we can do, not afraid of taking risks.
Clearly.
And the good thing is most of them have paid off. The other thing that I don't think, and this is a leadership conversation that I think the management team has, you have to have in these businesses, in any business I think in this day and age, kind of globally, you have to have emotional endurance. Because the Saudi thing just comes up, there's, Rupert Murdoch raises his hand, I'm selling the business. These are big jolts into the system. And if you're not able to have emotional endurance to handle those things, because they're going to come up at every level of the company, you're not going to be successful. And hopefully the management is showing every aspect of the business that they have it. They're curious, they're willing to take risks, they'll hang in there with you. Over time, it does seep into the culture, the blood supply of the company. And I think that's what we've done from the leadership of the company at the top all the way down.
What's the biggest mistake you've made over your nearly 25 years at Endeavor, and what did you learn from it?
I've been asked this question a lot. The funny thing is most people evaluate a mistake by a profit and loss. I've never really done that, and I've had the luxury of being successful profit and loss-wise. Most of them, if I think about them, have not really been mistakes. They've just led to a relationship that led to a learning that led to a better situation. So we started out in marketing. All the big houses were coming after the WPP and Omnicoms. We looked at them and said, why couldn't we do it? We had a bunch of consultants. We tried. We made money. We lost money. It wasn't right for the culture. And then we made a decision, we want to go into buy a big marketing business because we saw a huge opportunity that there was going to be dislocations for the Visas and the Anheuser-Busch's and the Papa John's of the world. As the world changed, SVODs came. So then we got in business with David Droga and Droga 5.
And a creative advertising.
And then we created a consulting business, a Fusion, which is a direct, a bunch of businesses. Those businesses, if you just on their own would say they worked, they didn't work, they weren't really huge successes. But they got us to a place where we understood the business and then understood where we had to be. For us, were those mistakes? Maybe other people would have said they were mistakes. For us, they were a learning to the end of where we now sit. So I don't look at them as mistakes. I just look at them as processes that we learned from, and then we come to a conclusion. It might have, for most smarter people, it might have taken only a year. For us, it took 8. I don't care. We got to the place where we needed to be.
You recently hired Bozoma St. John from Uber. You obviously see a lot of potential in the marketing business.
They have done an incredible, Mark Shapiro's done an incredible job with Ed Horn, Bose, Droga, 160/90, Red, our activation company, Fusion, IMG Live, and we have a great solution. As, my opinion, Omnicom, WPP, Interpublic are looking to get into events and all the things that we do. They have now created a solution set that clients are coming to and realizing, something, with ratings going down across the globe, SVOD's taking over, there's not a lot of commercials. How do we get out? And we have events, we have sports, we have all these things that we create a different opportunity for them, which was the dream 8-9 years ago. And they've done an incredible job, and that's one of the big growth areas for the company.
With all of this diversification, is there an IPO or some kind of event in the future to help you, to help you reimburse all of your investors?
We're constantly evaluating what we should and shouldn't do. Right now, raising money has not been a problem because we've had great returns. even though a bunch of my competitors think we constantly overspend and we're not financially, we've had incredible returns. So we'll make a decision. I'm not in any rush to do one thing or another. I think we've got the best partner in the world in Silver Lake, and we got a lot of good advisors. So we'll make it. I have no idea. We'll see what the marketplace offers, and if we need to raise money because there's an acquisition, we'll raise the money, and then we'll make a decision when it's right. It will be right. I have no idea.
Well, listen, Ari, our time is short, and I so appreciate you coming out here and
thank you for the award.
answering these questions.
I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.